Welcome to Loud Librarians Lead with Laura Kelly. Joining me today is George Seamon, South Dakota State Librarian, and he is here today to talk about his past experiences and his vision for the state library. Welcome, George.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
So tell librarians across the state a little bit about your experiences and what you bring to the state library.
All right, thank you. And I love this question because, of course, I love to talk about myself. No, not really.
Love putting you on the spot, right?
Yeah. Well, I love this question, too, because it makes me think back of all the experiences I've had in my life, because a librarian is more than just library school. A librarian is all of their past experiences. I think that's true of any profession that we serve in. And so I think back to my family, my parents, growing up. My dad had multiple jobs to make sure we had what we needed. My mom worked and came home and made sure we had dinner and got our homework done. And so it's amazing to think of all that they did for me. And so the sacrifices that they made and instilling me with work ethic. And then I think about all the times that I watched my parents serve others. It helped me learn what service was, and it helped me gain an appreciation for caring for others and having empathy for others. And I think those are big characteristics that you have as a librarian. And then moving forward, as I began to work, I started working as a custodian and a maintenance man in college and things like that. And you can't help but, while you're plunging a toilet, to gain a lot of humility.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
You're trying to do something and there are people coming in and, using the bathroom while you're there. You definitely are humbled by those experiences. And then as I was trying to determine what I wanted to do with my life, went to college, got a degree in history, and then after that realized I needed something more than that. And so I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life. And I know that's always a challenge for our youth, trying to figure out what it is that they're going to do with.
Yeah, we have so many going off to college right now and changing their major 2 or 3 times right away, and just knowing that is an experience we all go through. Where are we pointed? What direction should we go in? And sometimes that changes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and for me it changed a lot.
Yeah.
I started a master's in history, a master's in education. I think I even took some engineering classes at one time, and before I knew it, I'm racking up 40, 50 credit hours not knowing what I wanted to do. And then I discovered library science, the great library science. But even looking at the time, it was frustrating trying to figure out what it is that you wanted to do with your life. But after I got my degree, I realized that was all for a purpose too, because I gained knowledge in a lot of different areas. And then I started working as an academic librarian. I was doing interlibrary loan and circulation, and that's when I really realized that this was what I wanted to do with my life. I enjoyed working at the desk and doing interlibrary loan. I enjoyed it all. I realized that this is a lot of fun, and I get to do this and make money doing it.
That is wonderful when your passion meets with what you're up. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then I was applying for positions, and I received a position at Northwest Kansas Library System to be a consultant, which I thought was kind of weird at the time, because here I'm fresh out of library school, very little experience in libraries, and I'm going to be consulting people that have been doing this for years and years. And so I felt it was my obligation then to learn. So I took the first few years and just learned what they did, how they did, learn from those people that were in the trenches doing the job, and gained a lot of information that way. And really, that was the teaching experience I got outside of the master's, because I learned how this all worked once you learned it.
True, like through doing it and in those interactions. And I feel like that as I travel across the state of South Dakota, I just pick up all this information from librarians, and then I'm able to share it to the next librarian. Yeah. And so often they think that all stems from me, but it doesn't. It really is, taking these tidbits that you see and saying, have you ever thought about it in this different way? I've seen this at another library, and I've seen how that worked for them. Could you take that and make it your own?
Yes.
So sometimes it's just really sharing what we've learned too. in that way.
Yes, that's a great point. And that's what it is. And I've noticed that a lot too with conferences. You go to a conference, you see something new, and you're like, oh, I got to take that back and share that with everybody. And then you do, and before you know it, it becomes this big program that everybody wants to participate. So yeah, I think that's really another cool part is to, sharing what you have and getting it out there to everybody. So then I became director of Northwest Kansas Library System, which in and of itself was a whole other animal. Learning budget and policy and, really doing it too, and getting into the nitty gritty of planning and things like that. But I found that I enjoyed all of that as well. And so it was a new challenge, a new opportunity to grow in a different way.
Yeah, I'm sure those new directors out there and then the past directors who have been there a while know how that position stretches you differently again and taking on those new challenges. Yeah. Sometimes that's just what we need,
that's right? Yeah, that's exactly right.
With the new challenge you're just going into now.
That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's brought me here. After 14 years at the regional library system, I decided it was time for something new, and here I am in South Dakota now.
Yes, and we're so happy to have you here and all your experiences that you're bringing with, and hoping that we can share a little bit about South Dakota with you, and you can share all your past experiences, and we can learn from each other. So I'm so excited for our new adventure together here. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, me too.
And that kind of leads me to my next question. Often we hear, what is the importance of libraries today? How do we communicate that with patrons, with other librarians, with board members, all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I know that's one that I get all the time. Mm-hmm. When we mention to somebody that we're a librarian, that's the next question is, well, I thought libraries were done, and what do you actually do now? And it makes me think of an experience that I had a few years back. We were camping, my family and I, and some folks that were camping next to us invited us over for s'mores. And of course, when you go over, you interact, and one of the questions is, oh, hey, what do you do? And I mentioned I was a librarian. And they both kind of looked at me funny, and I think it was because they, expected me to have a bun or something, and glasses, chains, right? And
we're not buns and shushing anymore.
Right,
yes.
And then they said, well, aren't libraries dinosaurs? Aren't they going to go extinct? And so I sat there and explained to them about what's going on in the library today, that there are these wonderful programs. Kids come in and they're doing coding in the library, or we have maker spaces with 3D printers, technology that most people don't get to experience. And then, just sharing with them all the possibilities in collections, cake pans or whatever. Maybe you could even go in and borrow a saw because you need to cut a limb off of a tree.
Yeah, those library of things are just amazing. Yeah. I know we have a few of those across the state of South Dakota, and you can get just about anything in a library nowadays. Yeah.
It's great. I really think it's awesome. And it was neat because by the time I was done explaining what libraries are doing today, both of them wanted to go to their library. And that was the thing that I discovered. They hadn't been in the library in a long, long time, since they were kids. And so they were excited to try it again and see what was going on in their library. And so I think that's a big part of our problem today as librarians, is we're not actually getting out there and marketing and sharing what we do and how we do it. And that there are great opportunities in our library, opportunities for people to find peace and comfort, to experiment, to gain knowledge, to expand knowledge, to increase their professional abilities, get a job. I mean, there's so much that can be done in the library now, and that's the thing that we need to begin sharing more widely.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be the best kept secret, right?
We
have
exactly
so
right.
much great time and energy spent on our programming and our resources, so letting others know about it and talking about it even in casual social situations, just
right.
like you said, I'm a librarian, I'd love to tell you all about that and what we do today. And so we're just going to keep that message going, and we know you librarians out there in South Dakota are very passionate about what you do as well, so we're just going to keep talking about it and make sure everyone knows.
Absolutely. Even in the grocery line.
Yes, just take that as an opportunity,
That's right.
right?
That's right. Have you checked out ebooks?
Yes. You don't even have to walk in the library doors to access our services. And you can be anywhere in the state of South Dakota, right?
That's right.
And it is so amazing, the opportunities that we have, and just letting others know that they're out there. So they're not going anywhere. Libraries aren't. We are definitely looking towards the future. And speaking of that, what are you looking forward to the most in your new role here at the State Library?
Okay, I'm really looking forward to getting out and meeting all the librarians and seeing the libraries. That is one thing I really enjoyed. Just learning from all of you, what you've done, your experiences, and then sharing that around. And then sharing the experiences I've had in other libraries, you know. And one thing I always felt like is whenever I visited libraries, they'd think I was going to be judging their library, and that's not the case. I'm there to learn and experience and have some fun with all of you and get to know all of you and figure out how we can serve you.
Wonderful. So librarians out there, make sure you let us know if you'd like George to come visit your library and get to meet him and show him your beautiful spaces and your communities, because he is looking to get out there and to start visiting libraries.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Awesome. Now, what are your plans for the future of the State Library?
Oh boy, yeah,
I like these tough questions.
This is a loaded question. Yes. Well, just the last month, I've been doing a lot of learning about what the State Library here does, and I tell you, it's amazing everything that the State Library does here in South Dakota, and I really just want to continue all the service that we provide and just continue to grow. And serve the libraries the best that we can with the resources that we have. So I will always be looking for new and innovative ways to serve and find the best ways that all of us can serve you.
So when George is out there visiting you, make sure you tell him what you think the State Library can do to help support you better, because that's what we're here for.
That's right.
Yes. Well, we can't end the vlog without some book recommendations.
Okay, all right.
I know I gave you a little time to prepare. What do you have for us today, George?
So I kind of have a mix of things that I've enjoyed in my life, and also some new things that are coming. So for little kids, I remember when I was a little kid, my dad used to read to me The Monster at the End of the Book with Grover. And that's written by John Stone. And I used to love that book because throughout you're trying to not get to the end of the book. And yet when you get to the end of the book, the monster's just Grover. And so as a child, it was great. My dad would let me, try and keep the book from turning the page and things like that. And so always a great lap-sit storybook. It really is.
Yeah, who can be afraid of Grover,
Yeah,
right? He's
come
the cutest
on.
monster ever. I love those interactive books like that, where the book feels like it's talking to you and asking you to do things, and it brings your mindset to a different place where you're like, how does it know what I'm doing? They'll be like, do you turn to the page? And the kids can get so into that.
Yeah.
So, and the oldies are still goodies in my mind. You got to bring them back around. And
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, how about for those older kids then?
So I've got a couple of things here. One book that we love as a family is Who Will Guide My Sleigh Tonight? And since Christmas is coming,
oh, true,
slowly, but it'll be here before we know it. It's a great book. He doesn't have his reindeer to guide his sleigh, so he starts looking for other animals that can guide the sleigh. And there's a lot of fun circumstances because he has skunks or snakes or apes or whatever, and he just has a bad experience with each one. And so it's great to read out loud and to have the pictures, and my kids used to love that. And I think it's still, even with my kids being older, they still want to read it, during Christmas time and experience
becomes a tradition,
That's
right?
Yes. And then for the teens, I really got into Brandon Mull's books. I don't know if we know who Brandon Mull is, but he's the one who wrote Fablehaven. And those books, I really enjoyed his Beyonders series. And he is actually writing another series right now. I think it's in the third or fourth book about Fablehaven. It's a break off from that. And so he still has series that are going, and they're just great books. They talk about different fables, and there's a place where they all live, and you have to keep them in that place or they get out, and all kinds of bad things happen. So. And then another series that I really like is Michael Vey by, I have to look, Richard Paul Evans. And he's he's a young man who can use electricity. And we thought the series had ended, and then Richard Paul Evans announced that he's writing an 8th one, and it's coming out here soon. So
Ooh, I love anticipating a new book, too.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited because we really love those books. As they were coming out.
Well, awesome. So you should be looking for new ones coming out in both those series, and it's great to get a series if you can get a teen hooked on it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they know the next book they're going to read, and so I always love recommending authors that write several books in a series.
Absolutely.
So, anything for us adults?
Well, I thought I'd share my favorite book, which is, of course, The Lord of the Rings. All 3 of them, call them in one there. And I only say that because right now Amazon has released a new series that starts before The Lord of the Rings. And so that's going to be a popular one, is to reread The Lord of the Rings because this new series is coming out. So just wanted to share that. And
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yes.
And you know, what a great like trivia night for adults or something like that. You could throw in the new book and, you know, I've done that Harry Potter trivia and that's super fun. I can see The Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of people that have read that series. So that would be a lot of fun if you're looking for an idea for adults, right?
That's right. You can even have them rate it and then have a party and show the movies and the series or whatever.
Yeah. Well, George, thank you so much for sharing your book recommendations, your experience, your plans for the future. It's just so great to let librarians get to meet you a little bit. And like you said, you're going to be out there visiting soon, which is very exciting. And I have some exciting news as well. I will be leaving the South Dakota State Library. I'm never leaving in my heart, but I did accept a new position at the Statewide Family Engagement Center as a Family Engagement Learning Specialist. And I will be out visiting South Dakota communities still across the state. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm still going to keep my connections with all the libraries.
Absolutely.
And the Statewide Family Engagement Center works directly with the state library as well as the Department of Education. So we're going to still be working together in a way. And so I'm really excited about that too, because I have so enjoyed working with all of you across the state and just getting to know who you are and your communities. And yes, I'm going to miss seeing you and hearing from you. So please reach out. And if I'm in your community, I will reach out to you. Absolutely. And we can have coffee or something fun like that, right? Well, thank you again, George. And we're just going to wave goodbye to everyone out there. See you again soon. And remember, librarians are not buns and shushing anymore. Bye, South Dakota librarians. Talk to you again. Bye.